you're saying I want to be a hard worker, right? But maybe you don't really practice that. You've had a hard time putting in the hours, right? Well, if you continually tell yourself, I want to be a hard worker, well, that's inferring that you aren't currently. So when you're in a position where it's 8 p.m., the laptop's in front of you, and you're just nothing in you wants to work, well, have been telling yourself subconsciously that you are not a hard worker. So you're
Mm-hmm.
going to revert to that state of, oh, just forget it, close the laptop, go watch whatever, do something.
Mm-hmm.
Versus if subconsciously throughout the day, you're like, no, I am a hard worker. That's just who I am. That's my identity. When it comes to that situation where you have that laptop in front of you, it's late at night and you want to put in some hours, you just revert to your natural identity state. Your actions flow from your identity.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like that difference in I want and I am that is literally going to, when you're sitting there in front of your laptop, like you said, and the decision is to be made, well, if you want it, it's not yours. But if you are it, then it is yours and it's been yours. And that will put you in that different state of mind. And it's that energy that you need to kind of lean into. Been focusing on that for a long time. It's really good that you're really getting into that though right now.
Yeah, and I think even personally, the place I'm at now was I was doing really well with that, like, and it was working. Like my actions were flowing from that identity. But then obviously sometimes things in life happen where you might slip up, right? Because it's like you're on this upward momentum track, and the thing is, the odds that this upward momentum will just go just like skyrocket up.
Yeah, and break the mic.
Yeah, exactly. Break the
Just
mic.
kidding.
The odds are just because this is how life is. Something might happen, a pandemic, whatever. There'll be a little dip.
Right.
And it's how do you prepare for when that dip happens and then realign yourself back to the identity? Because you might have been practicing these old habits that you've wanted to get rid of for 10 years, but then all of a sudden you're having this new identity, this new mindset, and it's working great. But then something in life happens, a stress or whatever, and you might revert back to that old identity.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to respond? Are you going to be like, oh, I guess that was a fluke the past couple weeks, I'm just going to go back? Or is it, hey, this is a process? My big thing is progress, not perfection.
Right.
This little dip happened, this little slip up, but getting right back on it and be like, no, I am this, I am that continuously.
So I've kind of felt like recently where, and we talked about this last episode, where like I need to kind of fix this kind of bad habit that I've acquired, and I've had it in the past. It's kind of looped itself back in because of the pandemic and the boredom and the angst of it all. And now I'm at this point where now I want to get back in the habit or the mind space of getting rid of that. So instead of me just being like, okay, I'm gonna hammer myself through this and be miserable and just fight until I get to the other side, I want to kind of take a step back and start doing a lot of research and arm myself with like intellectual reasons or more logical reasons why me deciding to kick the habit is the right thing to do. So that's kind of my process is like, all right, take a step back. Let's gather a lot of research, a lot of different perspective, see all the really bad things that could come of this. And then when I approach it, it's like, okay, other Vic, he didn't have these tools, but I have these tools. So that makes it so much easier for me and gives me much better validation to chase, kicking the habit, is arming yourself with that knowledge.
Yeah, super important. Have the knowledge for it. I've noticed also personally where if I'm trying to change my habits or stop a certain thing that I've done for a long time, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not being productive for me. A lot of people, and this is how I did it, it's like your energy on a day-to-day basis is, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this. And that's, again, a very negative energy place to come from.
Mm-hmm.
Not being all mystical energy, but just your vibe, whatever you
Energy
want to
is
call
energy
it.
is legit.
I know, but I know people.
It's not like a fruit thing. It's literally
Yeah.
if you didn't have energy, your molecules would not
Yeah.
stick together. That's just it.
But basically, I noticed that I was focusing so much on a day-to-day of don't do this, don't do that, versus when I just really just forgot about that and decided instead of just saying no to this, I'm going to actually run towards something positive. So as I run towards something positive, I'm actually moving away from that negative thing, but I'm not thinking about it versus staying stationary and just being like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do, I'm not doing that versus, hey, I'm going to focus on my business right now. I'm going to focus on my health. I'm going to run towards these positive things that I've now started because of my new identity.
Yeah.
You're actually moving away from that negative thing you don't want to do anymore versus it's a lot tougher when you're just trying to, like you said, grit it out.
Yeah. Also, too, what I've been doing. This is circling back to power. Now we talked about that last episode. Is when I'm in that state of I want to do that thing that is a bad habit. What am I thinking about? Well, I'm thinking about the future. I'm planning the future. I'm going to do it in 5 minutes. That's not right now. What is right now? Right now is right now. It's right here, right now. If I pull myself out of that future mentality, then there's no way for me to do it unless I literally am in the process of doing it as we speak.
Yeah.
So just like siphoning or sucking yourself back into this moment of now and recognizing where is your thought? Is it in the past? Is it in the future? What does now look like? And just doing that little exercise right there really grounds you and separates you from a lot of bad habits. And I'm really finding that to be super successful in dealing with kind of what I'm going through.
Yeah, the power of now is definitely great. Explains it really well because even I had that experience where I've had a big problem with self-sabotage where it's like I'm doing something, I did something that was going to hurt me long term. But the thing is, a lot of times where you have, let's say you do a bad habit, whatever, you have something you don't want to do and it ends up happening, or you didn't work as much as you wanted, and you beat yourself up so much over that because you're again projecting yourself in the future, and you're like, okay, because I did this thing, it's going to hurt me later in life, right? Versus a lot of times these things that we do, it actually in the very present moment, again, everything's actually kind of fine. It's not really affecting you in the present.
Yeah.
We're more worried about affecting you in the future.
Exactly.
So that one day turns into 2 days of negativity, 3 days of negativity, 4 days, because you're just so beating yourself up because, wow, oh, that thing I did, it's going to really hurt me in the future again. But in the present, you're fine. So you
Right.
turn a 1 day event into like a week event of
Exactly, because
negativity.
you're dwelling now. You're not. It's like you're not even just living in the future. It's like you're living in the past and the future simultaneously, like both directions pulling you.
The worst place to be.
Exactly, pulling you away from right now, which is the most effective place to be by far.
Yeah. Get present, people. That's all I can say.
Absolutely.